If you've seen a cookie guide circle around the internet, you might have heard of Tessa Arias, the blogger behind this guide. She has an amazing food blog called handletheheat.com where you can find a variety of sweet treats and other awesome foods. So definitely check her blog out. And now I'm super excited to interview her, so let's get started.
So my first question to you is there anyone in your family who inspires you to bake?
You know what's funny actually is that none of my immediate family members like to cook or bake at all. Like they actually view it as a chore. And I think that's actually why I became so interested in being in the kitchen, was because no one in my family was making any good food and I wanted good food. And so I just started looking up recipes and buying magazines and cookbooks, and that's really how it began.
Why did you decide to start the blog, especially in high school, like as opposed to later on?
I have just always been online and always, interested in making websites and things like that. And I had started other blogs throughout high school with my friends and just kind of for fun. And when I started to fall in love with being in the kitchen, I thought it would be a perfect way to kind of have my family members and friends follow that journey. But when I actually started my blog, I was so shy and embarrassed that I actually didn't share it with any friends or family members. Kind of like how we were talking about that it's kind of weird. No one really gets it when you're in high school, but that's kind of how it began.
Right. So you go to culinary school right now. So if your profession wasn't blogging or cooking, what would it be, or what would you have studied instead of cooking?
Well, I got a bachelor's degree as well in humanities, which is kind of vague. But if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be maybe writing for another publication or a magazine. Or I also really love home decor. And I also really love makeup. So it's kind of random, but basically anything that allows you to create something is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, because your room is really nice from what I can see in the background.
Thank you.
So are most of your recipes and ideas for your blog ones that you've come up with yourself, or do you seek inspiration from outside sources?
Well, when I first started blogging, I was doing a lot of adaptions of recipes that I was finding. Now I do mostly original recipes that I've created myself, but I always turn to, my favorite restaurants or other blogs or magazines or cookbooks or TV for inspiration for sure.
And how long does it take you to develop a recipe?
Well, so when I develop a recipe, I think of the idea, and then I actually write the recipe out as best as I can imagine it would be. And then that way, I really try to do as much work ahead of time before I get into the kitchen, so that I'm not having to make a recipe a million different times for it to turn out right. And so it usually takes me about, I would say 2 days to write, test, retest, and refine, and then take all the photos.
If you were stranded on a deserted island and if you could only eat one type of food, what would it be?
Chocolate. No question.
Yeah, there's a lot of chocolate on your blog, which I love. I'm sure a lot of your viewers love that too. If you only used one type of utensil in the kitchen, what would it be?
I love my KitchenAid stand mixer. I probably use that 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing. And I have the 90th anniversary one, so it's candy apple red, and it's all shiny and sparkly. It's just beautiful.
And what's the most difficult thing that you've ever cooked?
Probably homemade croissants.
Right.
Just because I have no upper body strength. So when you're rolling out the butter, it takes a lot of work, and it's a 2-day baking adventure. It's very time consuming, and if you mess up, you've just wasted pounds of butter. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the most difficult.
So as a blogger, you probably cook a lot of food. So what do you do with all of the dessert that you make? Because I bet it's not easy to eat all of it by yourself.
No, and I try to limit it, keep it in moderation, because I do make a lot of desserts. So after we've had, a taste or two, I'll usually try to give it to a friend or a family member, or a lot of it does get tossed because it's just we can't be eating entire cakes every single day. And my friends and family, they liked it at first, but now they've kind of been you're gonna make me obese, stop, slow down.
Yeah, so you also started your YouTube channel pretty recently, a year ago, I believe. So why did you decide to start that in addition to your blog?
I was really interested in offering my readers like I said, since I'm such a visual person, I really wanted to offer them a way to kind of like feast with their eyes in how the recipe was made. And a lot of things are difficult to explain, like making croissants, for example. That's something that when you write it out, it's like, 10
Right.
paragraphs long. It's such a complicated recipe. So recipes like that, I find are really helpful to actually see how they're made. And I thought it would just be fun to kind of take my readers inside my kitchen with me and make it feel like we're right there cooking together.
Yeah, right. So like what do you think in general, like because you've been online for quite a while, so what are the highs and lows of blogging and YouTube for you?
Um, well, lows can be kind of personal, like when you see, for example, another blogger who has some sort of wonderful success and you want to be happy for them, but you're kind of like, I want that. And there's a bit of like competition and jealousy, and it's all like inner turmoil type stuff. I think the food blogging community in general and the YouTube community has all been really wonderful and friendly and helpful. And then definitely high is when you log in, for the day and you see that one of your recipes has gone viral on Pinterest or something. Or my favorite thing ever is when I get a comment from a reader and they say, I made this recipe and I loved it, my family loved it, or I can never get my kids to eat this and they finally ate it thanks to your recipe. Things like that always make my day.
Yeah. And you also have a cookbook about ice cream sandwiches, which is like I love the way that you've like set that up, and it's so cool because it's really unique. Do you think that you'll be releasing any other cookbooks in the near future?
If I do, they'll probably be e-cookbooks and not a physical cookbook like the ice cream
Hmm.
sandwich one, because it's so time consuming and intensive and it's so much work to write a
Right.
cookbook. It's actually pretty crazy. And the other weird thing too is like when you're writing a cookbook, it takes a year or two before what you've actually done is ever seen by anyone
Hmm.
else. And with blogging, like we're so used to instant gratification where we make a recipe and then we can post it the very next day, and that's more my speed.
Yeah. So are there any bloggers that you look up to or any types of foodies out there, either on YouTube or with blogs or just generally like cookbook authors that you seek inspiration from or that you look up to?
When I first started, anyone on the Food Network, I was like, heroes. But now I would say, some of my friends who have been really successful on YouTube, like Joanne from 15 Spatulas, I love her stuff, but I'm always messaging her like, how did you do this? Your videos are so amazing. So I definitely have, and it's really nice too because any like food blogger or YouTuber, for example, that I've really admired or looked up to, we've ended up being able to become friends. And that's probably my favorite part about the whole blogging experience is that I've gained friends that I would have never known or met otherwise because they live in all different areas of the world. And it's such a cool experience to be able to meet like minded people.
So yeah, what are some of the coolest experiences that you've had as a result of the blog?
One time I ran into a reader in public and she was like, this is going to sound really weird, but are you the person from Handle the Heat? And I was like, I am. That was really cool because it can kind of feel like you're talking to no one when you're on the
Right.
computer. And then when I first started blogging a few years after me and a group of other young bloggers had been invited to speak at a blogging conference in Atlanta. So I got to fly across the country and meet all of these other food bloggers, and it was my first conference, and that was a really, really cool experience.
So what is some advice that you would give to someone who wants to start a food blog or who's interested in getting something out there?
The first thing I would say would be start now. Like, don't hold back. Don't wait until the timing's perfect or until this or that. Just get started because you really don't know where it will lead. And when I started my food blog, I had no idea that it would end up becoming my job, that I'd end up writing a cookbook. Like, so many amazing things have happened because of it. And I
Hmm.
really had no idea what I was doing when I started. So, anyone can do it. Start now.
But so what's next for Handle the Heat?
Yeah, so I am in the development stage of creating some really fun new products and resources for my readers and also for other bloggers as well. So the next year will really be focusing on kind of my own business ventures.
Hmm.
And, with blogging, if people aren't familiar, you make a living from the advertisements and from working with brands and things like that. And I kind of want to, since this is my full time job, take control over that because we can't control advertisements or we can't control what brands want from us. So I'm starting to develop my own products so that I can have more control over my business and the blog and offer my readers what they really want.
So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this interview. And thank you, Tessa, for giving me the opportunity to interview you. If you haven't done so already, check out handletheheat.com and don't forget to subscribe to Hot Chocolate Hits for more interviews and recipe tutorials. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.